CLG returns from a 3-week boot camp in Korea. Did it work?
Plus the biggest Team Fortress 2 tournament of the year and the return of 2 eSports legends.
It was a super busy week in eSports. I'm John Reisinger.
And I'm Turney. Welcome to the Know-It-All Leaderboard. Here's what you need to know.
The biggest news in eSports this week, nothing to do with the tournament. On Monday, Twitch announced it was being bought by Amazon for $970 million. The deal means that Amazon snatched the video game streaming service from under the nose of YouTube, which multiple reports pegged as Twitch's new owner over the past 2 months. What does this mean for the future of esports? That's a question we'll likely won't be able to answer for a long time.
Because the news just broke.
Correct. Here's something you don't see every day in esports, an international Team Fortress 2 tournament with serious money at stake. It was serious for TF2 anyway. While Valve's other big esports, Dota 2 and Counter-Strike, received plenty of backing from the parent company, TF2 has always had a hard time finding sponsors to foot the bills for the big tourneys.
Fortunately, the fans have stepped up. For each of the past 3 years, they've dropped around $20K in crowdfunded cash to make the tournament happen at the UK's Insomnia Gaming Festival. This year's tournament didn't disappoint, especially for teams for the west side of the Atlantic. America's best, Froyotech, stomped through the competition, and in the final, they blitzed Europe's best, Epsilon. It was one of the most one-sided matches all tournament. In that game and throughout the tournament, Froyotech's Matt Clockwork Diaz made a strong case for the title best player in the world. Against Epsilon, the scout put up 110 kills against 57 deaths. Winning will hardly make Froyotech rich though. The prize pool tops out around $8,500, but it's still some nice buns. We'll have to wait another year to see if North America can retain its title as the best TF2 continent in the world.
All right, everyone remembers the International 4, you know, that little Dota 2 tournament in July that gave it that little prize of $11 million. Well, ever since Team Newbie demolished Vici Gaming in the final, there have been a lot more repercussions than just a sudden doubling of esports millionaires. Players are dropping from teams left and right.
And we're not talking about B-level stars either. 2 of China's best left their respective squads last week. Vici Gaming, runners-up at the International, lost by ROTK Fan, while 4th place finishers Team DK will have to carry on without Shu Burning Gelay. Meanwhile, last year's runner-up, Navi, finished a disappointing 7th place at this year's event. They lost Clement Puppy Ivanov and Kiro Kuroki Salehi Takasomi. Nailed it!
And that's hardly all of the roster swaps. We've seen big moves from Evil Geniuses, Fnatic, and Cloud9 as well, meaning that the entire scene is a little up in the air at the moment. Now, all that reshuffling does make sense. Lots of teams were formed just to make a run at the International. The problem is it hasn't made things easy for some of the tournament organizers. September's World Esports Championships in China were supposed to host North American and European qualifiers, but they were forced to cancel. They were worried the region's biggest names wouldn't make it through. WEC just directly invited the teams they wanted to attend. So Evil Geniuses Cloud9 Alliance, congrats on being so famous you don't even need to qualify.
Super fair.
Now on to some StarCraft news. If you ever watched Pro Halo in the mid-aughties, you've got to know Dave Walsh, better known as Walshy. An esports legend, he's won over 20 tournaments playing 4 different games in the Halo series. The guy even invented a better way to handle a controller, the claw. Suffice to say, Walshy is a console god. This weekend, Walshy tried his hand, or claw I guess, at StarCraft 2 at the open registration Red Bull Battlegrounds tournament in Detroit. Now don't let Walshy hear you call it a comeback, because he retired from pro gaming in 2012 and it's staying that way. That doesn't mean he can't have a little fun now and then. Walshy had played Warcraft and StarCraft for years. He's a one-time top-ranked amateur, so it's not like this was his first time. But when he ran into Grandmaster foe Corey Schnitzel Schneidel, it was all over. Yep, that's his name. Schnitzel simply outplayed Walshy, dropping him out of the tournament with an 0-2 record. Schnitzel himself had little chance against the Korean pro gamers at the tournament. Polt beat Teja in the finals 3-0. But there's something Schnitzel can take away. He'll always get to say, I beat a legend. Well, a Halo legend at any rate.
Walshy doesn't want to call it a comeback, but here's somebody who probably won't mind, Korean StarCraft legend Lee Flash Young-ho. You might know him as the ultimate weapon, or maybe just God. Back when StarCraft Brood War was at the top of the esports world, Flash was easily the best player, but ever since StarCraft 2's release, Flash hasn't been able to regain his footing as King of the Hill until this summer. Last Wednesday, Flash swept his group in StarCraft Premier individual competition, the Global StarCraft League, and that type of dominant victory has suddenly become the norm again for Flash. Since the start of July, he has a 50-11 map record and an 82% win rate. During that period, he's won 23 of 25 best-of-3 series and 3 of 4 of his Pro League matches. Is Flash set to become the best StarCraft 2 player in the world 4 years after the game's release, or is he just on a hot streak? At the very least, you can say he's probably the best player in the world right now. The North American League of Legends Championship Series playoffs were held over the weekend, and there was nearly as much news outside the games as in them. Earlier this month, American squad Counterlogic Gaming shipped off to Korea. Having already qualified for playoffs, the squad left substitutes to play the final week of the LCS. In Korea, they met up with coach Christopher Montecristo Michaels and launched a 3-week-long boot camp against Korean teams who are widely considered the best in the world.
It was a risky move, but if it paid off, CLG and Monte Cristo would look like master strategists. However, it didn't quite work out that way. Here to talk about CLG's bad weekend and other big storylines from this weekend's playoffs is the Daily Dot's Jared Wynne. Hi, Jared.
Hey.
Hi.
Thanks for coming by.
No problem.
Okay, so on Sunday, Curse swept CLG 3-0. What happened with CLG?
Well, the first thing I would say is that Curse played very well. They played well individually, they played well as a team. They were not the biggest story here because Counterlogic Gaming went to Korea, so that's the big story, but Curse deserves credit. Now, Counterlogic Gaming going to Korea didn't work out so well, but we should say they didn't go to Korea just because they wanted to practice there. One of their players is a Korean national. He had to go back to Korea for immigration issues.
So it's both a technical thing and a strategic thing.
Yeah, it's still a good idea to play in Korea because Korea has a great League of Legends scene, maybe the best scene in the world, so you get different play style, you get a lot of practice in. Didn't work out so well for Counterlogic Gaming this time around. In fact, I think maybe the next time they show up, they should have jerseys that say, I went to Korea and all I got was swept by Curse.
So do you think that they should have stayed home? Do you think that the in-person play helped, or do you think it would have been better for them to have stayed home?
I think it could help in the long run. It's hard to say for these teams, but I will say that the idea of going to Korea to practice is not a bad idea necessarily, just because Counterlogic Gaming lost to Curse. We're going to see Alliance, Fnatic, and SK Gaming, the 3 European qualifiers for this year's World Championship, go to Korea for the same purpose. So it's a good idea, just didn't work out so well for CLG.
Okay, let's talk about Curse a little bit more. They're in the middle of the table all season long. What do they need to do next? What's going to happen with them in the next round?
Well, what they need to do is beat Cloud9. That's a tall order. Cloud9 is the class of North American League of Legends. No one has been better for some time now, and I think it's going to continue for a while longer. Curse has a chance, but Cloud9 has just pushed North American League of Legends to the next level, really. Their play style, they don't just rely on individual skill. They rely on controlling the entire pace of the game, controlling the objectives of the game. They play at such a high level. They have a good shot at Worlds this year, I think. So Curse has a tall order in taking on Cloud9. I don't think they can do it, but playing as well as they did against Counterlogic Gaming, they at least have a chance.
Okay.
So Team Solo Mode has been doing pretty well. They won their match 3-1. What do you think is going to happen for them in the next round?
Well, they're going to play LMQ. LMQ is an interesting team. They're Chinese, even though they're playing here in the North American League Championship Series. They made a decision some time ago to move to the United States in order to do that. They're a strong team, too. They finished second in the league table to Cloud9 with a record of 18-10. Cloud9 also had a record of 18-10, but the tiebreaker went to Cloud9. LMQ, however, went 4-0 against Team Solo Mid during the regular season. That's a big disparity, obviously. So TSM, in order to move on past LMQ, they got to change some things up. I would like to see them play an aggressive style maybe in the first game or two, kind of throw LMQ off of their game, because whatever they're doing now or whatever they have been doing has not worked.
Okay, so you're saying that Cloud9 has a chance at the World Championship. Are there any other American teams that have a chance there?
Well, I think Cloud9 only has a chance, to be clear. I don't think they're the favorites by any means, but they do have a chance. It's really going to come down to how they can play against the best teams, probably the best Korean teams when they get there. LMQ probably has a chance. They're a solid team. It would be kind of ironic if the first North American team to make a deep run at Worlds was actually a Chinese team.
Yeah.
So, there's a chance for these teams, but it's going to be a tall order. It's a tough competition there.
Okay, we'll have to see what happens. Thanks for coming by, Jared.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
That's it for the leaderboard this week, but be sure to keep an eye out for the Know-It-All when it premieres next Friday on the Rooster Teeth channel, where we'll bring you all the biggest news stories of the week in one shot. So don't miss it.
In the meantime, for more gaming and entertainment news, make sure you click like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week for more of the leaderboard. GG, everybody.
GG.
Did you know re? No? All right.